call for Monday, the 19th of July, 2021. I was actually thinking of you guys over the weekend. That's right. You know what? I couldn't get you out of my mind. I was,
Dangerous.
yeah, I
Dangerous.
was. Hey, you know what? Hold on a second there. Alana, that is a beautiful, beautiful kitchen. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lovely.
Oh, I am
Oh,
a sucker for
wow.
ledgestone. I love ledgestone.
Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
know. We saw this design in a house in Kelowna when we lived there. And we thought, if we get a house built ever, we're gonna transplant some of these designs into our house. And so that's what we did. So, yeah.
Wow. My goodness. Okay, there's that. You got the stainless steel, the ledgestone, the little mantle there. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not a cook. So that's like coming from me. That's like a big deal. All right. Very good. Alana is with us. So here's why I was thinking of you guys. I had an opportunity to clean out my wife's car. So every now and then, yeah. So every now and then, my daughter's stuff just piles up to the point where it's like, all right, I'm hitting the reset button. So I get a cardboard box of a recent shipment and I just put everything that's in the car into the box, and then I vacuum and I clean the car. And it's kind of like how I reset the car. Anyway, while I was doing that, I was listening to some older punk rock band called The Descendants. And wouldn't you know it, the song Coffee Mug came up, which is track 3 from their Everything Sucks album. And anyway, here's a link in case anyone would like to experience that. So that's in the chat now. But glad to be here with you guys. Don't play it right now. It's pretty fast. The whole song is 35 seconds long. But the and which I guess is a metaphor for what we're doing here with the low-hanging approach to all of this, because speed is good. We can get stuff done. Looks like I got a haircut, John. Actually, I cut in color once a month, and it was about 2 weeks ago. But thanks for noticing, finally, Rob. But speed is a good thing. I was in the gym today, believe it or not. Of course I was, right? Of course I was. Hey, DL, I'm going to go ahead and mute your mic. I'll mute everybody up because we got a little bit of background noise there. All right, so that should be better now. But I was in the gym today, and I was listening to a lecture, like audiobook sort of personal development lectures. And I was getting reminded of some of the stuff that we're dealing with as we engage in any new business. And as Alana was saying, just before I was observing her, or as I got to observe her ledgestone, there's a purpose for this. There's a purpose for this group. Sure, of course there is. And there's a purpose for us, doing whatever we do. Hopefully there is, right? I mean, if we're doing work is on purpose action, right? That's the definition of work, simplest one anyway. So we have a purpose for being here. And I was just thinking about when I transitioned out of less purposeful work into the work that I do now, there was a bit of discord going on. In fact, a lot of discord. Some of you have heard my story. But I was ending up in the hospital. I was stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed, destroying my own body, basically from overwork and a lack of fulfillment, really, a lack of fulfillment. Clinging on to methods or an income vehicle because of whatever perceived security I had in that, but not quite reaching to fulfill my potential on a higher level. And one of the things that I noticed I noticed a few things once I was willing to look. I noticed a few things. If I'm not willing to look, I don't notice anything. I just get to sit around and assert my rightness and sit there and be right. I'd rather be rich. Okay, so I had to look. I had to confront some new reality, some new possibilities in my life. And the thing, looking back, one of the things that really helped me do that was getting perspectives from other people, which of course is something that we do here all the time, right? I mean, the whole purpose of this aspect of your participation in this business, this movement, this community, right? One aspect of that is that you're not alone. And thank goodness. Thank goodness. Because given to my own best thinking, well, where's the evolution in that? I've never learned anything by being right. I've had to expand, and I've had to look at other perspectives because, in fact, I was just having this conversation with my mastermind group. There's this thing called the law of polarity, and there's lots of laws that get kicked around, in the circles of self-help and motivation and whatever. But the law of polarity is an actual law, and it states that if there's an up, there has to be a down. If there's a good, there has to be a bad. Hot, cold, inside, outside, right? Top, bottom. That's law, right? You can't break the law. That's just the law, right? Okay, fine. And where can we see that in our lives as we engage, this new endeavor, this worthy, new field of learning that we're diving into here? Where can we see that? Well, we get clarity through contrast. So considering the polarity of, if something's wrong, that means there's got to be something right. And when I first embraced entrepreneurship, actually not the first time, but when I finally became successful as an entrepreneur, it was out of major adversity. So again, if you consider the law of polarity, and I'll dive into that just a little bit more here, just so you got full understanding, right? If something, you perceive something to be very, very bad, then there's got to be another way to look at it that could be very, very good. Napoleon Hill, in his classic book, Think and Grow Rich, said that in the seed of in every crisis is the seed for an equal or greater opportunity. In every crisis is the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Okay. So here I was in the muck of overwork, overwhelm, stress, not reaching my goals, in a vehicle that was not fulfilling to me. Okay, that sounds pretty bad, right? Ending up in the hospital and passing out. Yeah, and that's not good. All right, well, is there another way to look at this? Yeah, there's another way to look at that, because the contrast is so clear now that there's got to be another side of this. There's got to be some huge opportunity that's opening up for me. And in fact, there was, but I had to become willing to look at it. I had to become willing to shift perspectives. As long as I keep looking at this side of the coin and fixating my attention on it, and I don't like this side of the coin. Let's say this is, heads or whatever. Okay, fine. I don't like the heads, right? I could sit here and bemoan how much I get to experience the head side of the coin. But if I shift my perspective, there's the tail side of the coin. And so that's what happened with me, but I didn't do it alone. And that's the thing. Goethe said, all intelligent thoughts have already been thought. All we got to do is try and think them again. Well, that sounds interesting. Okay, so apparently I'm not right. Apparently I don't know everything. In fact, the surest way for me to learn nothing is to think I already know. So here we are. Here we find ourselves in this community where we're getting perspectives from multiple people, not just me, right? I mean, you get to hear me. I get to hear me too. It's always interesting. But I get to hear you. And so, yeah, I do show up before 1:15, right? In fact, there was one time I showed up exactly on time. One time. Okay. And I had to pull, a topic out of nothingness, because I like to know what's real, what's going on with you guys. What's your perspective on this? What is real to you about all this? Now, this is instructive, not only, here, like within our community calls and whatever, but it's also instructive in terms of what you're going to be doing and what you are beginning to do as marketers, as people who are engaging with more perspectives, more customers in this case, right? We've got 7.5 billion people on the planet. That's certainly a lot of different perspectives. And the interesting thing about that is that these perspectives change all the time, because they're also involved with other people. And all the time we're getting inputs. Here's the question. Are we listening? Are we looking? Are we confronting the marketplace and the opportunity? Because you may have come out of a situation, or are coming out of a situation, where you've had your attention fixated on perhaps what you don't want. Okay, but we've got to turn our gaze and survey a bigger scene here, and start seeing, where are other people at with all this? This is terribly instructive, because now if you can enter the conversation that's happening in the mind of your ideal target audience, wow, can you now transfer an idea to them? Let's say in terms of, via the t-shirt or the coffee mug or whatever, right? Can you gain agreement, or can you once again enter that conversation that's already happening in their mind? Well, you can if you're listening. So perhaps what we're actually demonstrating here on a micro sense is what you're actually doing or will be doing when you engage on a macro sense, into here's 1,000 different, designs on material like coffee cups and shirts and whatever. Okay. But here's communication that I am now going to be putting out into multiple target audiences because I know what they want. You ever, do you ever just sit there and think, boy, wouldn't it be great if I had a crystal ball? If I could just predict the future? Anybody seen that movie, Live, Die, Repeat, with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise? One of my favorites, in fact. So there's this like alien force that lands on Earth, and like they're kicking ass and like killing humans and stuff. And then apparently if you kill one of them that bleeds on you, one of these higher up, high ranking ones, that you get the power of regeneration, and you get to go back to like a certain point in time. And then you can repeat that day again and again and again until you die again. And then you go back, you live, you die, you repeat, right? But you get the benefit of knowing everything that's going to happen. And so your responses to everything are, Alana said, makes me think about Groundhog Day. Right. So there's another example of it, maybe a less morbid one. But okay, so here's Bill Murray, right? And he gets to repeat that day over and over and over again until he gets it right. And as I recall in that movie, getting it right was actually, having a relationship with the girl. Anyway, but back to Live, Die, Repeat, right? So he knows every move of the opponent before they do it, because he's experienced it countless times that same day over and over again, or multiple days, until the point where he actually, gets terminated and then has to start over. But it's extremely predictable. And there's a line in that movie where they said an enemy that knows the future cannot be defeated. And that was the main strategy of this alien species, was it knows, before you raise your weapon, it knows that you're going to do that, and it already shot you, right? So this is like a war movie. But think about that. How much of an advantage would it be for you to know what your ideal target audience is thinking before you engage? Tremendous, unstoppable. You can't lose that fight, right? And I think of it not so much as a fight now, but as a conquest, where, and this may be a new concept for some of you. Selling your coffee cup or your wares, whatever it is not something you're doing to people. It's something you're doing for people. This conversation that we're in right now, I'm not talking to you or at you, right? I'm with you. So when we consider that the perspective that we have when we go into business, which may be vastly different than the thing that got us off our ass in the first place, saying, you know what, I'm not satisfied with my circumstances, let me go find an opportunity. Okay, there's going to be a shift in perspective, a shift. And I'm recommending that you get as many perspectives as you can from the public, part of which is here. I don't know. I could be on Etsy today shopping for a coffee cup. Probably not, because I got a whole cabinet full of them. Thank you to my wife and daughter. But if I was, right, and it could be your cup. And I was just talking to you today, and I had no idea. That you were producing that cup. But man, I can't live without it now. Okay, so you're surveying what? The marketplace. You're listening, and I've been credited with in various ways with being someone who can get into high level communication with people very easily. But all I attribute that to is my ability to look and listen. You know the old saying, you got two ears and one mouth, right? So ironically, I'm here, I'm the one running my mouth. But get the point, right? Is that every time we get together, either here in this group or in other groups or on Facebook or in daily, parlance with people at the grocery store or whatever, that is all survey data. That's what that is. Listen, is this making sense, you guys? Because I know for many of you, it automatically is, okay? Because I've witnessed, and you've purported to me, right? My goodness, I'm like transformation kind of stuff that's been going on here in this group and within this whole community, because we're now tuning into different perspectives. You think of it like radio stations. I've used this example before, but like all of the music, so to speak, like that link I just gave you. That's one kind of music, right? That's in your room right now, by the way, if it's on the radio waves, right? And you can experience that by tuning into that frequency. I don't like that music. Okay, we'll change the frequency, but it's all here right now. But the only one that you're going to experience is the one that you're tuning into. So what I'm suggesting is that by you participating fully in these conversations, in this group, in your studies and in life, that you're getting fluid in terms of what frequencies you can tune into, and you're going to be able to hear sort of between the lines. Hearing between the lines. That's a really high level communication ability, and it's one that you're all developing while you're here. Because look, there are people here who know, let's say, for example, Missy, who is as omnipresent as I am when it comes to these groups, right? Or we could say, not to lean on Missy too much, Anissa, right? I know Anissa way more than I knew Anissa a few weeks ago, right? I know stuff about Anissa. Donna, I know Donna, right? There you go. Hi, Donna. So just picking out a couple of choices, right? Mark, I met Mark the other day, and now he keeps showing up, right? What's the value of all this? Multiple perspectives. Again, I've never learned anything by sitting here and asserting my rightness. What do you think? Right? And we get to hear that every single day. So this is kind of a light topic to start our week. Okay, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Of course I would, right? Which is why did I create the format that we've got for this? I've been to, and look, this is maybe a little bit of self-acknowledgement, but deal with it, okay? Because I've been doing this a long friggin' time. But I've been to like lectures and stuff where there are people who they sit there and they talk like they're God's gift to wisdom or something, and you don't get to say anything, right? You just sit there and take notes or whatever, and you can't even really use this stuff in your life, but you're supposed to sit there and be impressed. I'll tell you what, I've read so much and been to so many events and so many seminars and workshops. I've invested over $300,000 educating myself, and I could tell you that not all experts are created equal. And I can tell you also, and for those of you going through the accelerator program, one of the things you'll hear from Rachel is that she hasn't arrived either. So you want a mentor who has a mentor. I get mentoring all the time because I haven't arrived. I'm not manifesting fish and loaves or any of this kind of stuff. I'm just another bozo on the bus. Okay, I'm just a few $1 million down the road, which is nice. Okay, and I've been on the path a bit longer. But think about, or in fact, don't even think, just feel it. Just feel like, are you in the right place? It's probably something you already know. You already know it. And you don't have to sit there and intellectualize about it. You already know, right? And that is, in my experience, part of why I keep showing up. A big part of why I keep showing up. Because if I'm not on purpose, if I'm not in the right place, that's what got me in the hospital with the stress-induced problems and everything else all those years ago, was barking up the wrong tree with the wrong people. I'll tell you what, there's a multi-million-dollar lesson. More important than what you do is who you do it with. So now we can pass the collection basket if you like, because that just saved you millions of dollars. All right, let me stop talking. I've already been talking, however long I've been talking. Anissa has her hand up. Hey, Anissa, come on out, my friend. What's your story, Anissa?
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to say that I think perspective is so very important. One of the things that I had an opportunity to do when I got out of college was work with people all over the world.
Mhm.
And I saw how people interacted with each other, how people treated each other. From that experience, I learned how not to treat people. But I also learned the importance of teamwork and being able to bounce ideas off of people, because as my grandfather always says, all roads lead to Rome. So it doesn't matter which way you get there, you'll get there. And I think that the experiences along the way that people can share and talk about kind of give more perspective to the journey, so to speak. With that being said, one of the things that I've started to read The Power of Consistency. And the fear, feelings become thoughts, become actions. It's the piece between the thoughts and the actions where fear comes up for me. I don't necessarily know if that's something you want to deal with on this call, but I do think that if it's coming up for me, it might be coming up for others. And that might be a discussion that we might want to take in the future.
Sure. So you're referring to Weldon Long's upside of fear formula, FEAR. So, right? That's what you're
right. Yes.
Okay. Got it. So, yeah, that is definitely something we can. How many of us are reading that book? I know I recommended to our new members, start with Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod and one other of your choice. And it could be that one. But that one, I mean, here's a guy who spent 13 years in prison and who's now multimillionaire. And he had the last 7 years or so in prison to really sit there and kind of meditate on some ideas, and came out a changed man, not because of the prison system, but because who he became in the process. Great book, and not a difficult book to read. None of them are, right? They're all pretty digestible. Here's the thing, though, just to give you a quick acknowledgement and possibly something you can use with this, Anissa, is that between the impulsive thought, here's the idea, here's what I want, and what I'm doing now isn't getting me there, so let me do that. In between the thought I should do that and the actual action of doing that is this enormous wall of human emotion and reaction to it, right? So, but if you're forewarned, you're forearmed. Okay, I'm about to go into the realm of the unknown, and it's scary, and I know that it's going to be scary. And I'm going to, because of whatever autobiography I have, whatever history I have about having failed before, or having, missed my mark, or how dare I, risk, right? Some people are very risk averse, right? And because of that perspective, and because everything equals everything, right? We just get very reactive to this stuff. And, this next opportunity is going to be just like the last one, and I failed at that, right? So all of the stories that come up, and we project realities that aren't real. In fact, what did Samuel Clemens say? I had thousands of problems in my life, most of which never actually occurred. Interesting quote, right? So if we could just understand that our own tendencies or habits, habitual ways of thinking, have been in many cases what have held ourselves back, that we've been our own worst enemy, then at least we can look more objectively at our own thoughts and our emotional state and be like, okay, well, and this is something you and I talked about recently, because you went through a business launch session. All right.
Right.
What would Rachel do? What would John do? What would, I don't know, pick a role model or something. Okay. And you know what, sometimes too, and then we're going to get to Missy and then Jayton and then Cynthia. Sometimes I think this may sound silly, guys. Okay. But here's perspective for you. Anybody seen the Lord of the Rings movies, right? With the spectacular, hobbits and Gollum and My Precious and all this. There's a character in that movie, a very high level character called Aragorn. He's the king, the Return of the King, right? Although he wasn't wearing the crown for most of the movies. Okay. But the way, what's the guy's name? The actor, Viggo something. I don't remember his name.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, there you go. Right. But I identified with his character. So this Aragorn, like, what would Aragorn do? Now, this is a character that's made up. Okay. But the way it was enacted, it's like, here's a guy who, man, he goes through some crap. No doubt about it. Okay. But man, he's resilient. And he's not like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? No, he's never like that. Right. So, and he's got a sword, man. He's got the long hair. I used to have long hair, by the way. But like it's the Return of the King. Okay. Now I don't know how many people relate to Aragorn. Okay. The other character I related to in that movie was Eomer, the horse master from Rohan, depicted by Carl Urban, who's always got this knit in his eyebrow. He's always pissed off, always pissed off. And I'm like, man, I can kind of relate to that guy too. He just wants to fight. Same guy also played in Star Trek. He played Bones, Leonard McCoy, and he also played in Chronicles of Riddick. He was, oh my goodness, what's the guy's name? One of the Necromonger guys. But yeah, so I don't know. Do you have like a role model? It doesn't have to be even a real person. It could be a character. How would that person emotionally? How do they show up? When facing crisis. Here's Aragorn facing the horde of orcs or whatever. Right. I don't know if that helps, but just knowing that we're gonna go astray emotionally, and it's maybe that's yeah.
Well, it's definitely
Anyway, you're awesome.
definitely something that I'm approaching and dealing with, because it's amazing what you can think, what comes up when you're on a walk.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And for anyone who isn't taking walks, that would be a good thing to do.
Yes.
Start walking and just looking and listening. All right. Thank you, Anissa. We got Missy and Jayton and Cynthia. Hey, Missy.
Well, this plays right off Anissa's thing, because something unexpected happened to me this weekend. It was a surprise to me because Friday I was floating on the clouds after our meeting, doing my work, getting mugs up. I've been struggling with the technology because that's the bottom of the pyramid, And by the way, just as an aside, the people who invented Gear Bubble should be arrested immediately because their website is too wonky. But at any rate, so on the weekend, I fell into this rabbit hole. I was working, but excited working. And all of a sudden, without my even being aware of it, I fell into this rabbit hole. I got upset about something. And that emotion drew me back into just the default thing before I came here of making everything a catastrophe instead of looking for the opportunity. And it took me 2 days. And I had to go back in the book. I think it's consistency. I can't remember which one, but it's that order. It's thought comes first, then emotion, the two invisible things. And I just kept looking at, but there's no results. And my husband was complimenting me and saying, look what you did. I said, look what I did. There's nothing. We didn't sell a mug. There's nothing. And I wasn't until this morning when I started the book early in the morning and I was right on that page. And it was the invisible things that I forgot. I was only looking at the outward appearances. So this would have been a rabbit hole, a 3-month rabbit hole before joining this group. It was only a 2-day rabbit hole. And I got back because of the remembering the pattern, whatever you want to call it, the thought, emotion, action, result. The results make themselves. And so I know I'm saying it all mixed up, but that's basically what happened to me. And because of this group and because of you, John, I was able, and because of the author of the book, I was able to remember the invisible things are the more important than the outward effects. And I just lost myself and found myself quicker than I ever have before.
Well, welcome back. And just we were just talking about with Anissa, right? Just being able to observe that, hey, I'm not being me right now. What is going on? I'm going down a weird path, and you're consciously aware of that just based on how you feel, right? Now you can correct course. Now you could say, all right, so where have I gone astray? Let's back up a little bit. What triggered me? Okay, so something's happening here.
I know it triggered me.
Okay.
A phone call from my sister.
Ah, well, that'll do it. Yeah.
I sent to my Etsy store and she said, oh, it's beautiful. I would change this, that, and the other thing. She goes, and guess what? I'm probably going to open a consignment store in Cold Spring Harbor, which is a ritzy town on Long Island. John Lennon used to live there. And a year ago, she was saying her husband couldn't take the trip. And I love my sister. I don't mean to criticize her, and she's very supportive. But it was just when he hung up the phone, I was in tears. I'm like, why am I crying? What is going? And I just said, she beat me again. And she's my younger sister, so there's a whole bunch of history.
Yeah.
She never faced these. She was born 5 years later than me, and she missed 5 years of crap,
Okay.
family crap. But I love my parents, mommy, daddy. Thank you for everything.
Okay.
And I'm not criticizing them. They did the best they could with what they had, and they're my heroes. But something on that phone call triggered me, and I went, the rabbit hole, I thought it swallowed me up. No, I dove into it. I
Mhm.
dove into it. It was me that did it, not my sister. It was my thoughts falling back on old emotions, only gauging myself by results I don't have yet, but I do have them. I just haven't put up to them. That's truly how I feel and who I am.
Mm.
And I wouldn't accept my husband's praise because I would rather have said, no, I haven't done anything yet. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I get it. And so here's the thing. I had a business relationship with a guy who I bought a Maserati, and he had to buy a more expensive what was it? What do we call? Oh, and my wife got a Bentley. He had to get the bigger Bentley. Right. So now, no matter what we did, right, there were some other agendas going on there as well. But I just remember that some people are very much into the competitive mindset. And you've read SGR, right? Signs of Getting Rich, Wallace Waddles. We've got to get out of the competitive mindset. Okay. We've got to get into the creative mindset. Maybe review that couple of chapters on that, right? Between competition and creation, because I think it's awesome that your sister is doing whatever she's doing there in the ritzy section of, I mean, great.
It is. And I
Yeah, that's
fake
awesome.
complimented her because I was on the verge of tears, and she's very supportive.
Okay, good. Well, then she could buy some coffee cups from you and put them in her ritzy store and mark them up some more. So there you go. All right, let's go on to, thank you, Missy. Let's go on to Jayton, and then we got Cynthia, Annette, and Darla. Hey, Jayton.
Hey guys, I'm gonna keep it really brief, just literally a minute so that everyone else can chime in as well. So I really like your point on consistency. I think that's really important, and I found that in the last week I'm not being as consistent as I would have liked. And then that tied in with your other point on not being distracted and prioritization, right? So when you've got a lot of things going on, it's very easy to get distracted and prioritize the things which don't get you the outcome that you want. Mm-hmm. So I found in the last week and even this week, beginning of this week now today, I've been prioritizing things which I know I need to do. But if I look at my priority order, are they the things that will get me to where I need to get to? Right. Mm. So context, maybe I was attacking things number 3 and 4 and 5 and not doing 1 and 2. And then I found that despite my intention of wanting to do 1 and 2, I was just too exhausted. And I'm just so exhausted right now because physically and mentally I'm drained by doing 3, 4, and 5, which funnily enough are not that important, but they do suck the energy out of you and your brain, and you're left with. Right? So I just wanted to share that with everyone, because if there's a learning here, and this is where, your other point on sharing different perspectives comes into play, that if you are ever, and this is just sharing my experience with everyone, if you're ever in a situation where you've got 5 things to do and you know that you're attracted towards doing something, but if that thing does not, or a combination of those things does not lead you to the outcome that you want, then stop and think again and reevaluate what you're prioritizing, is what I would like to share. That's all. Yeah. And the other reason I'm exhausted most of the time by these calls is because in the UK, it's about 10 to 7 in the evening. So towards the end of our evening, and it's really hot here. It's like 28 degrees Celsius. So for what that means, probably above 100 degrees or something like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Thank you, everyone.
Well, it's nice and cool here. It's only going to be 104 today, Fahrenheit. So all good. Here in the desert. But although we have had that humidity, Jayden, I'll tell you what, we've got rain finally. So hooray for us. But so glad you're here, brother. And this is just the beginning, right? Look, no one here has license to get like frustrated or like, discouraged or whatever. We're all brand new at this. So just there's perspective for you right there. I am just getting started. Keep that sort of that newcomer, the nuance, the what's the word I'm looking for? Novelty of it, because you're going to get results. Of course you are, Jayden. I have no doubt about you. All right. Cynthia is up, and then Annette. Hey, Cynthia.
Hello, everybody. So this is just like, I see this pattern happening in this conversation this morning or today, this evening, whatever it is. But I can see where, and I relate to what everybody's contributing here today too. And there's a thread that I see, and that is perseverance until we find the right people to feed our hope. Really, I think it comes down to thoughts drift slowly. I'm not new at this, Earl Nightingale. I mean, for work purposes and my own businesses in the past, I've been doing this stuff for 40 years. Sorry, I should have learned by now, right? But the thing that I'm realizing this time is, as I'm digging out of that place you explained again, is it's really easy to go back, even though you've worked on those things. And so there's got to be persistency with consistency, because thoughts slowly drift back to stinking thinking, because stinking thinking is human nature. And that's why we need each other. And to your point, John, earlier about contributions from outside sources, the best thing about outside sources is the fact they don't know you. So they're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what they think, right? And so I over the weekend, went back to some good old Earl Nightingale. And I've been reading the books. I love them all. And there's been a whole lot of people in between Earl Nightingale, right? But the thing about it is that's why there's always new people, because we as humans need that, need to pull ourselves or have others help us pull ourselves out of that natural state of going to the, fuzz in our navels or our negative thoughts that the world feeds us in so many ways, in so many levels, because feelings are real. And feelings trigger us into action, as Missy mentioned, without going into repeat on the books there with that. But the thing that I've been learning anew is we choose who we surround ourselves with. And yes, we all have family and people that are in our lives. It's not like we're just dump them. But it's about coming to that place where we can let things roll off of us like water off of a duck. And that comes from being resilient enough from the other things we feed ourselves on, I think, like these books, like this group, like you, John. I just love how I finally found this, because I don't know, it just happened over the last recent years. And of course, last year, everybody had to deal with all that stuff and in different ways, but it really got to my thinking last year. And so I have to pull myself out of that by looking and persevering to find, and thankfully I found you guys, because this isn't the first group I've been looking for or looking into. It's not the first mentor I've had, but like you said earlier, John, there's a lot out there. And so it's persevering and being consistent and keeping ourselves surrounded by those people that help us, or those books, or whatever, that help us stay strong. But Jayden, to your point, I found, and I learned this many years ago, and I've ebbed and flowed in it, and it's just like, why don't I stick with this? Everybody needs a day off mentally every week. You come back into the week so much more refreshed and ready. Whereas if I just keep pounding through it, which I have been since I started this, but you know what? I needed yesterday just to unhook, because even when I was out of town on vacation, I was like doing this every day, right? Pushing it hard. And yesterday I was just like, I know this, I need to do this. And I took it and I feel so much more refreshed and able to receive what you guys are saying and just feel more energetic, right? Rejuvenated. So I just submit that to you. And I would love to hear what the rest of you, and especially you, John, have to say too.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. And yeah, in fact, you're going to be in a business launch session today. So buckle your seatbelt for that. We're going to cover some stuff. So I'm really excited for you.
Yay.
Yeah. And the fact that we talked about this last week. I was traveling, right? And yet I still was maintaining some schedule because, we've got responsibilities and we got lots of new members and all that kind of stuff. But I had to say no to lots of other stuff to create that balance. Now, here I am on the other side of the country doing the family thing. Right. So yeah, I get what you're saying. And there's got to be that perspective on it. So we are coming towards the top of the hour. And we got a couple more hands up. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Annette, come on out. And then we got Darla.
Yes.
Hey, Annette.
Hi.
There she is.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. A few days ago, you mentioned something. Mention is not a very strong word. It was a wonderful thing about each morning getting up and spending time asking ourselves who we are or who am I. That's the way I remember it.
Okay.
And every day since, when I wake up in the morning, I do that.
Not done.
And something comes into my mind. Hello?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you
That
still
was,
hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So every morning something comes to my mind after half a minute or so. And I want to mention the first three. Mention again. It came through very clearly that it's my thoughts that manifest my experience of the world, the actions I can take, and the materials it can bring into my world. I have done a lot of things in my life. I've lived on boats and I've done a lot of boating, and a lot of that is so much of, and I did that. I mean, I put my thoughts together, I arranged it, I got took the action and did all that. And I realized that with the efforts we're doing here and in everything in life, that I could get a lot more out of life by realizing that it's my thoughts, not just whatever's happening in the world. It's my thoughts that are the whole world, and how I can reach out so much more into the world using my thoughts to manifest things. It really became a rich experience.
Beautiful.
And number two, commitment. The second word that came up about what am I, and commitment came to me, that the understanding that, well, if I'm not doing things and not committing to them, I am not him. I am not being that or doing that. And finally, related to today, about boundaries. Well, it came up to me about boundaries too, that what I allow into my life, who I allow into my life, it's all about allowing me to be who I am. I'm also a musician and a songwriter, and I've always known that I let other people intrude on my time for that. And yes, this is encouraging me to become absolutely more of who I am by being able to live my life based on the boundaries that I have. So it's been a very enriching experience doing this every morning.
Well, welcome. I'll keep showing up. Thank you, Annette. That is great. More perspective, right? And more understanding about what part in this you can actually be responsible for, right? Here's your own thoughts, and here's the effect that you can have. Awesome stuff. You know what? I think, Darla, did we just save best for last with Darla? Is that what just happened? Hi, Darla.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't know, but we'll see. I know we're close to the end of the time here, so I'll try to be brief. But I wanted to springboard kind of off of the competition aspect that Missy touched on, because that's, I think, one of the main things that has always led to my failure is me imagining this competition that I'm in this competition and everybody else is so much further ahead than me and I'll never get caught up and I get overwhelmed and then I freeze, you know, and I go, okay, I'll never be able to do this. You know, so now I'm at this point. Last week I got stuck on the UPC codes and I'm trying to set up my product in my Amazon store. And there's a whole thing about GTINs and being able to get some kind of an exemption and UPC codes. And I'm going through all of the videos and I'm like, this is really, really overwhelming and confusing because there's so much information here. And I know I need to go through it again, but I got kind of overwhelmed and I stopped and put it aside and let the rest of life kind of just sweep me along. Well, the universe has a way of putting me back on track. And I knew I was going to probably get back into things again today because I missed a few calls last week because of craziness. And then I figured, okay, I'll get back into the calls and that'll get me back on track this week. But the universe decided that I was going to have to sit around and have nothing else to do but work on my business because I ended up smashing a toe with some stuff falling out of my freezer last night. And so I have no choice but to sit here and work on this today. So, you know, whatever you get kind of distracted from things and caught up in being your own competition, imagining your own competition, something will pull you back. You just have to pay attention to the universe, preferably before you get a toe smashed.
Yeah. There you go. That'll kind of bring you back. Darla, thank you for that, because anytime I compare my insides to other people's outsides, I self-deprecate. I'm thinking, what am I, you know, how am I missing the mark? How am I not good enough? Stuff like that. That is lethal, you know, and the world kind of reinforces that for you in many ways. So it's an interesting thing. And that you were able to observe it and catch yourself. Well done.
Which I wouldn't have done before, you know, before these calls that like Missy and so many others have said, this has really kind of helped me define who I actually want to be when I grow up.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you, Darla. We are past the top of the hour, but I do see Alana's got her hand up. And so let's hear from Alana. Hey, Alana. If you can unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I can relate totally to what Darla was just saying because there's a part of me that is doesn't like competition, is afraid of competition. And I guess it's from past failures, even though I have won some competitions. So it's kind of weird, but it would appear that the failures outweigh, you know, the memories of the wins. However, that was one of my reasons for getting involved in this, because I realized that really the only person standing in the way, the only person I'm really competing against is me. I think this LHS system with the mugs is a great creative platform, like Rachel said, for being able to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks, but also to listen to your passions inside. Like I think there's a balance, and tell me if I'm wrong, John, okay? Because, you know, I'm new to this thing and I haven't had much success yet in terms of the online world. I'm an innovator. I have developed some systems that are for health that work, but people aren't into much spending on money on themselves for health. They want everything for free, and I can't live on free. So I have to, this is my side that I hope to become my permanent source of income. But my thing with this that I'm getting at is that I know we have to listen to what the marketplace wants, but I think I'm hoping for a balance with a little bit of that allows the creative side of us to each express ourselves. And that's where that's where self-competition comes up. Like, you know, at a certain point, I have to turn off what I'm seeing out there and allow myself just to go for it and express myself. And just is it wrong what I'm saying? Is it wrong?
No, of course not. But here's the thing, Alana, and we could certainly take this up, more fully. But let's say you had a paintbrush and here's a canvas. You can create whatever you want on the canvas. So your paint will exist as it relates to the canvas. If no canvas, then nothing to create on. And so if we observe, oh, there's a canvas or there's a marketplace, and these are the conditions that exist in that marketplace, and here's what I can create. Here's how I can be cause in the face of all these variables and canvases or whatever, right? Now you're being creative, not comparing yourself like we were just talking about, or as Darla was talking about, right? Not comparing yourself with others, but an attempt to serve others.
Right.
In other words, it comes down to what Ralph Emerson called the law of laws, cause and effect. Cause and effect. So you yourself are not receiving an effect, you're having an effect. That's where
That's
you're.
what I hope. That's what I hope.
No, I mean that's just law. I mean that's just yeah. But just the fact that you're considering it is now we're getting into some like heavy duty philosophy now. Okay, but right there, that is a statement of responsibility. What you just said is like, you know what? How can I be responsible? What part of this can I be responsible for? I want to create something. Great. Now, if you do something creative that serves your fellow man, here, have some money. Here, take this worthless money. I want that product. Right? Oh, nice. Okay. So the better you get at entering that conversation that's going on in the mind of the people that you're attempting to serve, the more they want to exchange with you. Go through the accelerator program, Alana. I know you're just kind of getting into it all. Get with your accountability rep. By the way, Cindy, yeah, Cindy, I got your text. I just sounded the alarm, Cindy, just so you know, Cindy Monroy, because I got a couple people floating out in space. So we need to send some shuttles and bring people back to Earth here. But that's going to get done. And then you're going to see by the time you're through that process, and keep showing up here as well, Alana and everyone, keep showing up. Because you're going to keep seeing more and more about how you fit into all this in your own unique way, with your own unique combinations of experiences, abilities, yes, failures, but yes, wins. Who hasn't blundered? Okay, but let's not fixate our attention on that. What part of this can we do something about? How can I be cause, not effect? It's beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you, Alana. Glad you're here. And I love your Ledgestone. Oh my goodness. I love Ledgestone. Okay, I'm done
Should I
talking.
show you my fireplace?
Oh my goodness. The next time we're having fireside chat with Alana, sign me up. All right, guys, we're 7 minutes past the hour. Thank you all for being here. It's the largest live crowd we've had yet. So welcome, everyone. And I'll be back here with everyone tomorrow. We were up to 81 people here live today. Some people had to hit the road, but I'll be back here with you tomorrow. Some of you I'm meeting with on business launch sessions, so get ready for that. And definitely get in touch with your accountability rep today, even if it's just a text. Hey, what's my next step? All right, so we'll get that going as well. I'll see you guys real soon.